Mick. How's it going today, my friends? Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me here on Cosmic TV. For any of you who have not been to Cosmic TV before, check it out at cosmictelevision.com, on the App Store, here on Facebook. There's going to be other shows like this. There's going to be films by conscious filmmakers, courses, all the goodness for your spiritual and metaphysical journey. And my name is Laura Mazzotta, and if you've never met me before, I'm an Akashic healer. I've been a therapist for almost 20 years. I'm a Reiki master, and it is my absolute passion and mission to assist people with dealing with and healing their deepest chronic patterns in the most profound way possible that actually last, right? Not this temporary Band-Aid approach. So if you are here live, if you are here on the replay, please say hello. Let me know you're here. I never know whether the comments are working on Facebook, so I love to receive that. I also want to celebrate my Captain America today. It is Halloween weekend, so I get to wear whatever I want today, right? And guess what I was really excited to find is my Captain America mug that I totally forgot I had. So that's going to be joining us today too. And I'm very happy to be chatting with you today about the tricks of the mind. And I want to get feedback from you too, because there's a lot of tricks of the mind. And to be honest, the mind gets a really crappy deal because everybody blames the mind for everything and blames the ego for everything, thinking that it gets in the way. And yes, it can. But it's also such a gift for us and allows us a level of discernment and interaction with other humans in this 3D world. Kirath, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. You know, like it allows us to interact in this world with a level of discernment that gives us conscious awareness. It's just another level of consciousness, right? So let's not negate the ego and the mind entirely, but we also want to gain awareness of what it is, because it is its own entity, right? It has its own field, it has its own energy, and we want to honor that deeply. Also, any of you who are watching over on Emerge Healing and Wellness, jump back over to Cosmic if you want to chat live, because I won't see your comments on Emerge or while I'm live, if you're over on Emerge Healing and Wellness, okay? Hi, Steph. How are you, honey? So good to see you. Do you like my Captain America sweatshirt today? This is about as much as I dress up for Halloween. I purchased a geisha costume when my oldest was like 3 or 4, and she's 14 now. And I think I've been a geisha every year. Why? Because it's basically like wearing a robe, and I feel like I'm in my pajamas. So that's my cop-out on Halloween. But anyway, so I hope you guys all have lovely plans this weekend and that you're going to enjoy this holiday if it's something that you celebrate. But so what are these concepts and aspects of the mind that can get in our way that I think is really important for us to have awareness of? So there's 3 things that came through the Akashic Records this week when I was meeting with a couple of my clients. And the components that have been coming up recently to really interfere with our ability to connect and find our center are competition, comparison, and defensiveness. So if you can think of any other concepts or constructs of the mind, and by the way, I have a cold, so that's why I sound like a man and my eyes are red. So bear with me today. But if you can think of other constructs of the mind that are helpful for us to have awareness of, in terms of being able to notice them as cues when they arise, because that's the important piece here. If we start to notice that we're competing or comparing ourselves to somebody, if we start to notice that we are defensive or having this knee-jerk reaction, which is defensiveness, then we know not, okay, let me get into an analysis of what this means and how I'm supposed to move through this and what the solution is and problem solving and all the things. Instead of doing that, it's important to realize, oh, interesting. This is competitiveness or comparison or defensiveness. And when this shows up in my field, it's a cue to me to drop back into my heart space, to connect back into my center, to return to the alignment of body, mind, and heart, right? Because that means that you're stuck in this obsessive wheel that's spinning within your mind. And we can easily get sucked into that, easily. We're human beings, so it's not something to criticize yourself for. It's not something to be hard on yourself about. It's developing an awareness, okay? Competition is something that absolutely does not exist in the 5D. It does not exist outside of our 3D experience on this planet. Okay? That is really something that was developed out of a societal drive to win, yes, excuses for being in a comfort zone. I really like that. That's really the definition of defensiveness to a degree, right? Really captured within that for sure. My husband always makes a joke because he used to love watching The Simpsons, that animated series, right? And Homer Simpson always used to say, excuses are the building blocks of failure. And so he makes a joke about this and we laugh. Every time I would make an excuse, he'd be like, excuses are the building blocks of failure. Now, that's just a funny, right? I actually don't believe that failure exists. I don't believe that mistakes exist. I think everything is a step on our journey, right? But the concept is accurate, right? Which is that it's not going to lead you in the direction that your heart and your soul desire to take you. Right? So what are some excuses that you come up with on a day-to-day? Whether it's excuses to not go out with your friends, whether it's an excuse to not have sex with your partner, whether it's an excuse to not nourish yourself in the way that you know your body desires to be nourished, whether it's an excuse to not finish that thing that you are meant to finish. Right? Be really aware and be really honest with yourself, because the more honest you are with yourself, the more you're going to be able to grow. And the more you're going to be able to show up and say, yes, I know who I am. I accept who I am. I appreciate this and I can move forward. So thanks for bringing that up, Kirath, because that's really, really relevant to the defensiveness piece, because every single time you find yourself defensive, I want you to realize that you're truly in a space of justifying yourself. And what is justification? It's just making excuses. Going into excessive explanation about who you are, what you're doing, the actions you've decided to take. And you're really not trying to prove yourself to someone else. You're actually trying to prove yourself to yourself, because you don't have full confidence in whatever it is that's coming up in your field at the time. Okay? So that's the defensiveness piece. The competitiveness piece is what I started talking about earlier, which is that it doesn't exist anywhere but on this planet. This is a construct developed by humans, right? So the more that you can be able to disconnect from your human and return to your soul's origin, that can be very helpful around competition, right? Because your soul came here with a very unique purpose to fulfill. And so you being able to connect with that takes you completely out of the competition, right? Because it's like, oh, I have a certain purpose to fulfill here that has nothing to do with Joe Schmo or Mandy or whoever else is doing things on this earth that I'm comparing myself to. You try to go on their path and jump on their roller coaster, I guarantee you're going to crash. And listen, you'll still learn a lesson, right? You'll still learn the reason that came up in your field and that you needed to make that decision to move forward. But the greater awareness we have, the more streamlined we can be to be able to meet this soul's purpose, right? Trying is like quenching your thirst with half a glass of water. That's yummy. I love that. I tell my clients all the time, especially my clients in the Akashic program, I tell them, I'm like, nope. Whenever they use the word try, I'm like, there's no try, only do. Just like Yoda. Yoda. So I love that. Thank you so much. So that's competition. And then comparison is the final one. And I'm giving you guys a sneak peek here because I'm actually doing a free masterclass on November 5th called Both and I'll drop the link in the comments so you guys can sign up for it. But this is really about helping people learn how to manage their extremes and their swings back and forth that we all have as humans, to heal them, to come to acceptance and appreciation of them. And comparison is one of the pieces that I'm going to be diving into there. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview here. So comparison is something that I think is really fascinating and something that's been coming into my field since early on as a therapist, actually. And it's something that I've been kind of playing with. It's a concept I've been playing with. And I've come to many conclusions around comparison that a lot of people think get rid of it. And I highly disagree with that. I don't think that we get rid of that at all. Okay? I don't think that we get rid of comparison. It's utilizing it in a very constructive way, right? There's nothing constructive about competition. When you are looking at the word competition, I want you to replace it with collaboration. How can I collaborate? 100%. right? That's entirely what that's about. Ultimately, you want the connection. You desire the belonging. You desire the empowerment. You desire the, can't think of the word, but really amplifying one another's fields. You know, that's what you're looking for. And you don't realize that when you're in competitive mode. So shift to collaboration. All right, so for comparison is actually very, very helpful. And it's helpful when you use it in a constructive way. So tell me, before I answer this for you, I want you to tell me in the comments, how does comparison work for you? In what ways has it worked for you? And while you're doing that, I'm just gonna, since I gave you a little bit of a Cliff's Notes for competition there, the competition is really collaboration, and you want to shift into that directive or that direction, right? Defensiveness is really that sign that you're trying to prove yourself to yourself, which is all about self-worth. So it's returning to the worthy space. What's the worthy space? Your spiritual self, your higher self, your heart space. Worthy just because you exist. Your soul's purpose. What am I meant to do? What am I here to fulfill? Okay, so these are beautiful, powerful shifts for you. Okay, there's either a longer delay or you guys are being shy. So I'm going to jump into comparison here, and I'm going to give you the answers. You're welcome. Happy Friday. So comparison is very, very productive when we compare ourselves to a previous version of ourselves. Because when we do that, we get to draw on our strengths, draw on our resilience, draw on our skills that we use to get through a similar experience another time in life where we have been successful. We are utilizing our own resources. How empowering is that? To say, I've been there, done that, done this before. And I can draw on that wisdom. I can draw on that experience from myself and say, okay, this is where I am now. This is where I was then. What are the things that I did or used or had perspective on that I can benefit from now? So you're lining the two up. That's comparison, right? You're lining them up side by side and you're saying, okay, what was present then that I could benefit from now? And you're using your own wisdom to move you forward. The other thing is comparison to your higher self. Your higher self holds a very clear, unshakable vision for you. Unshakable vision. It is not wavering like we do on this planet. Comparison for me, says Kira. We were brought up in siblings achieving better results. Yep, it brought the best in my personal space. I love that. It's true, because sibling rivalry is actually encouraged, right? Parents are really encouraged to allow their children to have sibling rivalry and to not get involved unless there's something dangerous going on, right? Because they need to have that kind of rub in order to motivate them and agitate them forward, right? There are other ways for us to motivate ourselves, but that is part of the developmental process. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so that second part of comparison is comparing ourselves to our higher selves, right? Now, this is not in the vein of, oh, I'm never going to be that good, or oh, my higher self is at this level and I'm never going to get there. The point of this, if you find yourself at any point in the comparison process being hard on yourself, being down on yourself, questioning or doubting yourself, cut it off. It is no longer productive at that point. This is meant to be inspirational and empowering when you work with the concept of comparison. Okay? So as soon as you see that come in, you go back into what? Into your heart space, into loving yourself, into nourishing yourself. Because it's very clear that your inner child feels a little wounded and needs some attention and love and holding at that moment in time. Okay? So the third thing in terms of comparison, so the first one is comparing yourself to a previous version of you. The second one is comparing yourself to your higher self. So that you're really what you're asking there is the classic question of, does this support the life that I'm trying to create? does this get me one step closer to fulfilling my soul's purpose? So that's really the purpose behind that comparison. And the third one is kind of two-pronged. This is comparing yourself to a mentor of yours that knows you well, not just one that you kind of follow on the internet that you think is really inspirational, but one that knows you and has a connection with you. And this can be somebody who is in your family, it can be somebody in your social circle, it can be somebody professional, whatever. But you being able to say, not, oh, what does that person have that I don't have? But instead focusing on, what would this person do in this situation? Now, you notice this is the last one I shared with you because this, in my opinion, is the least empowering. However, it is a good stepping stone if you're having trouble with this comparison concept and you're feeling really disempowered, right? So it's a good kind of stepping stone to get to the next levels of comparison for yourself, to kind of work your way through this ego construct, okay? So it's saying, what would they do in this situation? Or like I said, it's two-pronged. The other thing you can ask yourself is, what advice would they be giving me? So kind of internalizing their voice. And that's a really beautiful way to start to detach from other people and from relationships and from outcomes, is to be able to say, okay, I actually get to connect with this person and kind of borrow their energy for a period of time. Then I get to internalize that voice, internalize that energy, and start to make it mine. Then I cultivate it as my own, as that interacts with my own energy field, and make it my own. Then you are now doing it yourself, right? So it's okay to kind of take those baby steps and work toward it. All right. So it's going to be, how would this person handle this? How would they respond to this? And or what kind of guidance would they offer me? So Kirath says, acknowledge you for who you are, accept your unique vibration, release for self-betterment, 100%. Exactly. And so sometimes people can just do that, especially people who have done a lot of intuitive work like you, Kirath, right? You're able to release that and turn to center. Yes, we still need a lot of reminders to do so as human beings. But this is for people who really also get stuck, or during those phases in your life where you really get stuck in the ego constructs of this competition, comparison, and defensiveness. And how does that present? It presents as obsessive thinking, right? Fixating on something, not fully surrendering. Okay, so that's what we reviewed today. Competition, comparison, and defensiveness as three of these main constructs that come forward in our minds and the ego that can interfere with our connection to our truest selves. And I offered you some tools to work with that. So whether you're here live or on the replay, let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway is from this. What is your biggest takeaway that you are going to have a greater awareness of, that you are going to integrate or implement into your day-to-day? And I really encourage you to sign up for the Both And Masterclass, particularly if this is a discussion that you appreciated, because we're going to go much deeper on this. We're going to be attacking all sorts of different dichotomies and dualities that exist within the human experience that come up as expressions of these constructs of the ego. Okay? And we're going to be really coming face to face with some of these dualities and disparities and extremes that show up in our lives, turning toward them instead of away from them, and being able to say, hello, what information do you have for me? And how do I work with this energy to be able to bring myself into the greatest level of alignment? And I'm going to assist you with doing that on a personal basis, especially if you show up live. I'll be able to really tackle what specific extremes are coming up in your field. Okay? So I'm really looking forward to this. So it's going to be on Facebook Live Friday, November 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's a 90-minute class. So I do encourage you to be there live just because you're going to get more connection, more personal feedback. Cassidy says, comparison is a rough one for me. Never have had an obsessive thought in my life. Not me. Yeah. Right there with you, Cassidy Ann. I love you. Yeah, comparisons, it's practice, right? It's practice to move ourselves out of these. And being able to practice in a very compassionate, gentle way. Not being hard on ourselves, but just noticing it when it comes up instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm not as good as Gabrielle Bernstein, right? Instead being like, Good job, Gabrielle Bernstein. You know what? You're showing me what's possible. You're showing me what's available to me, what opportunity exists in the field that I have access to if I desire, right? Allow yourself to see the opportunity that exists within that comparison or within that competition that you're feeling. Okay? So competition, collaboration. Comparison, celebrating and seeing the opportunity. Defensiveness, aligning with your higher self and your soul's purpose. You'll never be as good as Laura Mazzotta. Even when I have a cold and a man voice and I am wearing my Captain America sweatshirt and drinking out of my Captain America mug, I'm really, really trendy today, just so you know. All right, guys, I love you so much. I'll see you next Friday. Actually, right after my both and masterclass, because that's from 12 to 1:30. So then I'll be here at 2:15 Eastern time. So just keep your eyes peeled. We always post on Thursdays as to what the topic's going to be, because I really allow the Akashic Records to bring forward what's most relevant for people to receive in the field right now. And this has been coming up a lot with my clients this week. So I hope that this served you. Always maintain a cheerleader for those better and extend the hand to those below me. You're such a beautiful soul, Kirad. I love you so much. And I'm so glad we had an opportunity to have a direct conversation one-on-one, because it was so soothing to my soul. So I love you guys, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Halloween to those who celebrate, and I'll see you super soon. Bye.